approve the minutes of that month.
Okay.
Don't fool with the agenda. Okay.
All right. Good morning. This is Mike Harmer from Dewey Beach, Chair of Planning and Zoning Commission. And we're going to start the meeting for today, which is Saturday, October 7th. It's 10 o'clock-ish. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. All right, we'll do a roll call. You want to start over there?
Jim Gawicki.
Mark Nordquist.
Dave Lyons.
Mike Harmer?
Dale Cook.
Fred Townsend. Jimmy O'Connor.
All right, we have a quorum. Thank you very much. A motion to adopt the agenda?
First.
Dave? Second by Dale. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the minutes. We're going to approve actually the May 12th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes, which I forwarded to the commissioners, the Planning and Zoning Commissioners. And I have a motion to approve the minutes.
So move.
Dale?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any changes on those minutes? See none? Motion to approve. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? See no nays. Minutes from the May 12th, 2023 meeting are approved. We're going to open the public hearing. Please note the public comment will be allowed with each agenda item, and this placeholder is only for items not enumerated below. That was a note on the posting. Public hearing on an ordinance to amend Chapter 185-87 Streets and Right-of-Ways of the Municipal Code relating to the minimum allowed distance between driveway entrances and intersections. And I think we have some other town officials online. We have Dawn Hinks and Gary Persinger, Commissioner Persinger, hello.
Good morning.
We have Jim Deeds from Town Hall, Assistant Town Manager, I think is his title. And that's all I see for town officials unless I'm missing something. Am I missing anybody online? All right, Fred, do you want to talk or do you want me to get Dawn to talk about what this is?
Let's have Dawn introduce the
Awesome.
issue.
This is perfect. So we are lucky enough to have Dawn here on a Saturday morning, a beautiful Saturday morning, or we're going pink. Some of us have our pink on, and I'm sure we're all in the spirit regardless. So Dawn, we have some ordinances in front of us about the 40 feet from an intersection driveway and things like that. We definitely would like you to enlighten us, you and Jim, however you'd like to do it. And if Gary wants to chime in, we'll wait for all your comments, and thank you.
Good morning, all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excellent. Very good. Yes, we have 3 draft ordinances in front of us. Excuse me. There was a disconnect or is a disconnect between the current town requirement of 50 feet and possibly now going into a 40-foot reduction for this kind of application. We have quite a few homes that are existing with driveways that are less than the 50 feet. And so as a result of this, there would be a disconnect between what's on the book, so to speak, and what has been permitted in years past. There are existing properties and so forth with the driveways. And so with this, it does seem that we need to coordinate our code with what's existing. So with that thought in mind, I am looking toward draft ordinance number 3 with the 40 feet reduction. And also with that, then of course, it would need to be, excuse me, looked into by the building official. If there's a modification for any existing driveway entrance, as well as any new construction. We have very few vacant lots throughout all of Dewey that would even need to come on into this consideration because they might not be the buildable lot size per our current code. So I promote draft ordinance number 3, if that's what you gentlemen care to promote to the commissioners.
All right, so I guess we'll wait and see if Jim or Gary has anything to say on this.
Jim,
I see Jim's got his hand up. Maybe.
turn on your mic, Jim.
No, he's not muted.
Looks like he's frozen.
Now he's muted. Now he's not.
He's frozen.
Yeah, it looks like you're frozen up a little bit there, Jim.
Well, he's not frozen.
Oh, no, you're not
He's
frozen
moving.
anymore.
He's not getting any audio.
Yeah.
Jim, we don't hear you, Jim.
We can't hear us.
Maybe it was set that way.
Oh, okay. Hey, Dawn, can I ask you a question while we're waiting for Jim to come back in?
Yes,
What's the county's requirement today?
the county, Sussex County, I do not know. I've never investigated with Sussex County.
I thought from the background that maybe it was DelDOT did it. We're just
Yeah.
aligning ourselves with what,
It's with DelDOT.
yeah, with DelDOT, right? So what we're doing is basically aligning ourselves with DelDOT.
That is correct. DelDOT, in talking with them, had about a 50-foot distance from the appropriate intersection. They did say that they, with Dewey, would certainly allow a 40-foot distance. And so that appears to be that we are attempting to align ourselves with DelDOT.
So that could be a justification along with our change here. Is that correct?
It appears that way, yes.
Dawn, does DelDOT play a role in approving the entrance on a residence?
Per my understanding is DelDOT has to approve any commercial driveway entrance to a lot and so forth. And also our code in section 158-12, item A, I'm using my other computer to help me with this. Talks about that we need to have other agency approvals anytime that there is a multifamily project over 2 dwelling units or a commercial project. So that's what our code says. So if any commercial project along the RB2 district or others, we require them to get DelDOT approval for their building permit. And of course, any multifamily, we would do the same as well.
But a single family would not involve DelDOT approval for a single family home. If you were reconstructing one of these corner lot homes, DelDOT is not needed to be consulted for approval. Is that right?
We have not done so, correct? There is, and I was looking at it this morning, but I can't find it at this moment. That DelDOT made an agreement with the town back in the, I believe it was like 84, something of that nature, for the town to work with DelDOT in driveway entrances. And that would, from what I can remember, that would also indicate residential.
Dawn, this is Dale Cook. From what I know from past experience, my past experience, it's always been that DelDOT had to be consulted on anything entrance on or off the highway. And we always handled, as a town, handled our regulations entrance off the side roads. Is that correct?
Yes, that appears that way. In the code that I'm trying to find, it specified anything off of Route 1 or King Charles, that was where Del Dot had basically total control or authority.
Is that formalized in our code today at all, Dawn?
I don't,
believe
No, it's not.
I don't think, it's not in our code, I don't think. You think there's a code provision that says that? I guess, Dawn, I'll let you answer the question.
I'm trying to find something that indicates an appropriate design standard with that date of 1984. I'm going to try to hunt for that now.
Well, so chapter 158-12, street entrance permits, B, acknowledges the agreement, and it's referred to as a street maintenance agreement with the state of Delaware effective July 17th, 1984, to adopt the standards. So that agreement that Dawn referenced is also referenced in the code, and what it essentially says is that the town is authorized to regulate the approvals of these driveway entrances. And well, I can read it. So the town of Dewey Beach is authorized pursuant to a street maintenance agreement with the state of Delaware effective July 17th, 1984 to adopt standards and regulation for the location, design, construction, reconstruction, maintenance, use, and control of vehicular and pedestrian access to and from any state-maintained highway, except Highway 1 and 1A, and 50 feet distance therefrom, in order to protect public safety, to maintain smooth traffic flow, to maintain highway right-of-way drainage, to regulate drainage from property leading into or carried by the highway drainage system, any other public purpose as determined by the town.
So that's what we said.
So they,
Other than Highway 1 and King Charles, we're the ones that regulate the driveway entrances on the side
yeah,
streets.
so they ceded that authority over to us. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. With those exceptions.
Fred, what was that referencing?
That is 158-12B.
That's the one I was referencing. Thank you, Fred.
Okay.
So I'm hearing, we have the authority on all entrances except Route 1 and King Charles. Is that what I heard?
Right.
Route 1. All right, so back to Dawn's, we have 3 drafts. And it's like pick one or make a 4th one. And item 3, draft 3 is what Dawn focused on, because it looks like, we started with 1, added a sentence to 2, and now we got a full number 3. And what 3 does is it gives the town hall building official leniency in case, in case 40 feet doesn't work for whatever the situation is, that, so you got to have access to a driveway if you have a residential property. So to me, draft 3 is looking the most thorough. If we're in a discussion here, we're waiting on you, Jim, if you come back or whatever, but meanwhile,
And Mr. Persinger might
and
want
Mr.
to be
Persinger might
heard
want to
on
say
this.
something. Well, let me, before we start talking, Gary, you want to say anything while we're waiting to see if Jim can get in? Unless Jim's back?
Yeah, just real quickly, the way this got started, I think you guys considered and then we approved a change in the ordinance so that you could have a driveway on each of the streets on a corner lot. And then when I started looking at that, I said, well, wait a minute, we already have a requirement in here that driveway entrances can't be constructed closer than 50 feet to any intersections. On the dimension of the lot with 50 feet, you couldn't possibly have a driveway. Those 2 sections would be in conflict. So Dawn started to look into it, and she found the 40-foot standard from DelDOT.
Perfect.
But then they talked about where feasible. The problem with the DelDOT standard is, where do you measure 40 feet from? And so that's why we added the first added sentence here about taking the measurement from the lot corner closest to the 2 intersecting streets. Then as we talked about it some more, it was clear that even that might not apply to or not be feasible for all of the lots in town, so that the building official would need some discretion, so that you would not have a situation where driveway access would be prevented to any property because of that 40-foot standard. So that's just by way of background how we got to where we are now.
Thank you. That's very helpful, Commissioner Persinger.
So,
Jim, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes.
mhm.
Oh, perfect. I want to thank Kate for helping me through this. I wanted to comment that I did speak to Matt, I forgot his last, Schlitt, I believe, with the Department of Transportation. And their position was they're not going to interfere with us to coming to, in the sense of denying somebody access to their home and their property. And so they were pretty much of the opinion, at least from their perspective, they were more concerned with Route 1, not 1A. So the way the way I'm interpreting it, I look at the ordinance 3 that Gary assigned to us to take a look at, and that makes the most sense. It's easy to measure, and it allows access for some of the people to even from the 40 feet. We've got some properties that don't even have 40 feet from the measurement. That's so questionably, we would say that they can't have a driveway, which that is not the position of the town. Everybody has a right to have access to their home, and that's pretty much what Department of Transportation has told us. I think their issue was in general from a highway, and even though in a highway, I know they include King Charles, but I think they were looking at it from Route 1. But even with Route 1, we do have some homes, and we've got one I can think of right off the top of my head on Houston or Houston Street, which wouldn't even make the 40 feet. So this gives the building official the ability to mark off an access of a driveway furthest from the intersection. So I think that's where, at least from the town's perspective, that's where we would want to go on this ordinance number 3.
Is there any thought of a grandfathering provision for folks who have an existing situation just to protect them in the future? I don't know who that question would be geared towards Jim, Dawn, or Fred, maybe, I'm not sure.
This is Dawn.
Go ahead.
In referencing that code section 158-12, where Fred was reading from earlier, item D as in dog, speaks to any sort of person, firm, or corporation, things of that nature, that wants to, and I'm just going to skip over a few words, modify their entrance. Then, of course, that particular code section states that they must obtain a permit. So with that thought in mind, if an existing home, existing property, and so forth wishes to modify what has been in existence for a long period of time, they should obtain a permit. And it could possibly be at that point in time, the building department would then evaluate the situation, looking at it from a safety perspective. Would the modification be in conflict with this 40 feet, create a safety hazard, something of that nature?
I'm not clear if that addresses a grandfathering. I don't know if it's needed, whether, regardless, suppose somebody's not going to modify anything, but they exist. I don't know if we need that, Fred. I'm not sure.
So I don't think we need a grandfathering clause, but that doesn't mean that legal non-conforming driveways are now no longer legal.
Okay.
So the concept of grandfathering is definitely in play here, but I don't think we need a provision in this section to acknowledge that there may be properties that are improved with driveways that don't meet this standard, but they're considered legal non-conforming because they have been permitted in the past. So what we have here is a standard that we can't live up to in many cases. It's just been on the books a long time, and we haven't been able to enforce it or we haven't tried to enforce it in circumstances where it's impossible for somebody to comply. So I think grandfathering is an important concept for us to keep in mind in this circumstance, but I don't recommend adding any language to it.
So I'll assess those great statements by our attorney Fred, and to me, the layman, I will say that that means we don't need to worry about grandfathering in this today.
Well, if you can lose your grandfathered status, if you've got a home with a driveway that's 20 feet from an intersection, and as many homes do over the years, they get demolished and a new permit gets pulled. In that circumstance, they should be required to bring their driveway into compliance.
Correct.
And I mean, I guess a question I would have for Gary or for Dawn or Jim is 40 feet, since a driveway can be 10 or 20 feet wide, is 40 feet the right number? Should it be 40 feet? Should it be anything less than that? Because this doesn't seem to provide any discretion for you to approve anything, Dawn, that's not at least 40 feet from the intersection.
What says a building official may approve distance shorter than 40 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry, it does say that.
If adherence to the requirement would prevent driveway access to the property. So that should cover us in terms
Okay,
of
I'm sorry, I
Access,
apologize.
yeah, access to
I
anyone's-
stopped reading after that first added sentence. Thank you.
You're covered, Fred, thank you.
I got you, Fred.
If you've got some of these lots with, a corner lot and, you have a radius junction curve joining the two streets, and you're measuring the 40 feet from the PT, you're really taking a big chunk of that lot. It almost seems like you want to measure your 40 from the PI.
Yeah, I don't know where the PI is. Point of intersection.
Yeah, I mean, imagine there's not a curve there, because the curve just exists. It's not really there. It's just an imaginary line if you go over the right away.
Yeah.
So if you come from the PI, which is, more defined probably what the street looks like, you're, giving somebody a little more options as to where that driveway could go. Because from a PT, you may not have anything left. If it's a 50-foot lot
Yeah.
especially.
When you say PI, you're saying intersection?
Yeah.
But you guys, the last page of that printout shows that diagram. Dawn, do you got that diagram in front of you? Any comments on that? How you-
I guess I do have it in front of me. I don't have any comments. However, I do note at this particular moment, this is possibly a restriction for a lot that is not a corner lot. It's existing, and their driveway entrance is within the 40 feet. It's not further away. So this could also affect second lots or lots, not a corner lot, but the one next door to it. Don't know. But I know of one in particular that's existing.
So del dot goes from the point of tangent. Point of tangent, the point where the radius ends and the road turns straight. And we're saying,
I just said practically it looked like a
Take from the
PT,
lot
but PI would be a more, make more sense in these skinny lot situations.
lot corner closest to.
Yeah, it doesn't say-
intersecting streets.
PC or PI.
The two
It
intersecting.
doesn't say PI or PT in the ordinance, right?
Yeah, it doesn't, because we got the del dot, but the ordinance just.
It just
is
says
general.
closest corner.
Yeah.
Well,
So, I don't-
is the PI, is that the corner?
It's not the corner of the lot. It's an imaginary point,
Well,
if you will.
This is asking, isn't this asking for the point of the intersecting streets?
Yeah, that's the projection of the two roads makes
Mhm.
the PI. And if you have a radius junction curve in there for the right of way,
Mhm.
that's just something different. That's just marking the right of way off.
Mhm.
But it just seems like the projection of the roads would make them more, because that's what you're trying to achieve, is being so far away from the intersection roads, not necessarily that PT, if you follow what I'm saying.
So Dawn, do you have any preference on how it's worded? I mean, I see you got the wording the way it's written in item 3, and it does give Dawn the ability to prove something shorter. I mean, so.
Yeah, you have that anyway,
Yeah,
but.
yeah. Dawn, PI, PT, any suggestions based on what you just heard, or you want to keep it the way it is?
Basically, whichever you gentlemen would decide. I have no preference.
Okay.
But I am looking at, of course, what is existing, what people may prefer to, and I'm thinking of this. what they may prefer to have as far as access to their property, but then overall safety from a car coming from an opposite direction and a property owner backing out, so to speak, out of their driveway. To me, that's the most appropriate concern, is safety.
Mike?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Singer.
I think that the reason it's written that way, a couple of reasons. First of all, DelDOT goes by the PT, but I'm not sure that Dawn has a way of readily determining where the PT is. And so the property owner's not going to know that either. I think also that if you go with the PT, you're probably going to eliminate driveways in many of the lots where the dimension is 50, on its dimension of 50 feet. You know, and somebody says it's an imaginary point, and you have to get agreement on where that is to begin the measurement. You know, the lot corner, the lots are marked out. You know, most people will know where the corner of their lot is, and you can determine which one is closest to the intersection, and go there. The other reason for doing it this way is that the DelDOT language said 40 feet from the PT, if feasible. There's some feasibility language in there. So the thought here of going with the corner of the lot and 40 feet, and then providing Dawn with some discretion, it gets at the feasibility issue. You know, if it's not really feasible to do 40 feet, there is some flexibility here to approve something that's less than that, or that doesn't match the exact key measurements that DelDOT may use.
Thank you, Commissioner Persinger. Dale's got his hand up.
Yeah, it did, draft 3 submitted by Gary. I assume DP is Jerry Persinger. So,
Yeah.
but I think it fits all our problems, fits all the issues, services all the issues. I mean, if we don't get to town, we don't allow town building official to have leeway, use her judgment, his or her judgment. I mean, within 30 feet of my driveway, there's 4 houses that are improper on the corner itself. So it serves the purpose by giving the town building official the leeway to adjust if that has to get approved again. And in my opinion, I'd move if we're allowed to move now.
Let's make sure before we move, do we have anybody in the public that wants to talk? We see none. Kate's saying there's nobody. Okay, so any further discussion from those online first? All right, see none. So let's go around the room here. Let's do a motion and then discussion. You okay with that, Mark? Sure. A motion, I guess we're up.
Yeah, I move to accept that the planning and zoning accept draft 3 submitted by Gary Persinger and the town building official to send forward to the town commissioners for their approval.
And Jimmy seconds that, Jimmy O'Connor. So I guess discussion? Mark, anything?
Yeah, I agree with it also, but from a building standpoint, let's say I walked around, and if you go from St. Louis around the curve, there are a lot of odd shaped lots there. There's driveways that are definitely sitting right there. We're not doing anything about them now. They're already there. Right. But with new construction, there's a house on that curve where the garage is on let's say on the ocean side of the house, which puts it right into the middle of it. So Dawn, what I'm thinking of is from a building standpoint, anybody goes to build a new house, do we turn around and say your garage has to be on that side? Or do they first turn around and say, I want my garage here, but it's close to the road, can I get a variance? It's just something maybe do we need to add to our building part of it? Because
that could be a requirement for any new construction, yes. Whenever a single family home is submitted to the town, they do have to provide a proposed site survey and showing whether it's 210s with a 20-foot gap driveway in between, driveway entrance, or 120 driveway entrance. So that is something that is a requirement. So yes, we could look at that and come back and say, if it's a corner lot or the one next door to it, something of that nature. Unfortunately, we've got to work something out for that driveway entrance.
So as long, and the thing about that is as long as they agree to it, then we wouldn't have any liability. If we told them to tell them it's okay to have your driveway that close and there was to be an accident with them, would they be able to come back on the town and say, well, you told us we could put it there? But since it's on the corner, is it really a DelDOT thing? I mean, you know how it is. I'm just throwing it out there because I'm thinking of I'm thinking of a particular house that the garage is right here and then the road, it's there. You're lucky if they have 5 feet. But I mean, it's there now. I'm just saying for the future.
It just sounds like the building arrangement, they might have to accept a lesser desirable building arrangement to meet the code, and that's part of, I guess, lot configuration and regulations. The best that Dawn will be able to do for them is cut them down to less than 40, if that can make them work.
I'm just,
Yeah, I guess that, to Mark's point, is, are we creating a safety issue in this, or are we accepting a safety issue?
because DelDOT mentions it.
Right, if we allow it to be less, then are we creating a liability for the town? That's my only, and is that something that's not already been in place and we've already accepted?
It's been my experience. I mean, the regulations are regulations. I Fred's the attorney, but I mean, there's governmental liability, less liability on governments because of regulations. I don't think they can be held.
Well, I mean, it's a complicated subject, and lawsuits can be filed that have little to no merit. So we can never legislate in such a way that we can prevent someone from bringing some kind of a claim. I think that the town's charge, if this is adopted, is to approve driveway entrances that are 40 feet minimally from an intersection. And to the extent that that's impossible, to allow some relief from that. And we presume that the relief allowed would be the minimal necessary to construct a 10-foot driveway. And I think at some point, if somebody said they wanted to locate their driveway not 37 feet from the intersection, but 9 feet from the intersection, that Dawn would say no, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's what I was getting ready to bring up. It says no shorter than 50 feet. Do you want a provision in there say, no shorter than 50 feet, but also no less than, pick a number, 20 feet. So you're outright saying you can't be in that area no matter what, even if the building official says, hey, I'll give you 5 feet or something. There's a minimum there too.
I don't know if we want to get into that. Just give her some flexibility.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
We do have properties don't even meet the 9 foot that are on the corner. And if we get too much into the weeds, we're going to create an impossible hardship for somebody to access their property, even if they demolish. They've already got driveways in there and they're covered. But if it's a legal non-conforming parcel that's established. So if we say a minimum you can't access there, then basically what we're saying is you can construct the property, but you can't have a driveway unless you go for a variance. And I think we're becoming too restrictive if we go to something shorter than that. I think the 40-foot works, and let us work, let the town work with that and make it reasonable. We haven't had a problem in the past, and we've approved driveways actually closer to the intersection. And I can think of one on Carolina that we approved before Dawn came along, that we approved. And it was because there was no other way that they could get a driveway in their property.
Yeah.
So that's my comment, and I'm done.
Thanks a lot, Jim. You guys are great help.
So I would read this language that's been proposed to suggest that the building official may only be permitted to grant relief from the minimal 40 feet to the extent necessary to provide access to the property.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once that point is established, I think that's about as far as the building official can go in granting relief. So if somebody just really wants something that's much less than that because of the nature of the way they want to design their home, I'm not sure that the building official could grant that. I think once a point is determined that access is provided, then that may be all the discretion the town has.
All right. Well, thanks for your comments. I think that this gives the town hall the discretion that they're asking for. Does clean it up, gets us inconsistency with, at least with DelDOT. I guess any other comments from commissioners, planning and zoning commissioners? I guess we're up for a vote. We have a second, a motion, and now I guess we'll go for a vote. Let's just go by individual. Start with Jimmy.
Aye.
I think this serves the town purpose very well, and I vote aye.
I'm going to vote yes, and I agree for the same exact reason that Dale just said.
I'm going to vote yes as well, and I'll just go along with Dale and Mike's comments.
I'll go along with Dale and say yes.
Yes, yes, also.
But that's a unanimous recommendation. Fred will draft that up as a recommendation from the town, and it's already drafted, and you'll get it in the right hands, Fred and Kate, et cetera. And at this point, we move on in the agenda. We close the public hearing. Well, we sort of closed it. Let's say we closed it before we did our action items, so I'm sorry I missed that piece. It was a good dialogue, and any committee member comments at this point? We'll start with Jim.
No.
All right.
No comment.
Mark?
No comments.
No comment.
And Jimmy, none? And motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
Let's say Mark made it
Second.
and Dale seconded. All right, good, good.
Second.
And all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Aye.